So, welcome to another one of CARA TV's episodes. I am absolutely delighted to have as our guest this time, Sarah Gaskin from Leonard Curtis. Sarah, thank you for coming along.
Hi, Rob. Thank you very much for having me.
No, it's absolutely a pleasure. Now, I've done a bit of homework on you and I've got lots of evidence. So, this is a little bit about your background, and for the viewers, Sarah is still in her 20s, but the list that she has accomplished so much. So 4 A-levels, Nottingham University, 2 1s. At 18, you travelled solo to Italy and found a family to au pair for. At 20, you travelled around Asia on a motorbike. At 21, you decided to travel to Australia. Now, weirdly, I know that you travelled to Australia because you were running out of money in Asia. You didn't come home, you went further away.
Yeah, talking about the logic, I'm not really sure.
So, and then you got to Australia, you found another family to au pair for that went, we're going on holiday, come with us.
Yeah, I went skiing in Australia.
I mean, it doesn't get better than that, does it?
I'm a lucky girl.
Yeah, so you've also done DV, bronze, silver and gold.
Yes.
Now, when you went to Buck Palace, who presented you with the gold?
Well, apparently it was meant to be the King Charles himself. However, it never happened. Because I got to Buckingham Palace and there was a terrorist attack in London. So we got evacuated out of Buckingham Palace and I got sent my letter in the post, my certificate in the post. My mum has never forgiven me to this day.
Can you not go back? Can you not say, oi, Charlie boy,
King
Charles, I want to come back. Get your mum to buy another hat.
Gutted.
But that is, you know, for what you've done, being around the world, an absolute phenomenal achievement. How did a globetrotter like you end up at Leonard Curtis?
Well, so I studied psychology and neuroscience at Nottingham University, and I always wanted to do something to do with people, but I wasn't really sure. My mum's an accountant, my granddad was an insolvency practitioner, so I've sort of always been in that area of business, I guess. And the job came up when I got back from Australia. I was with my mum in Tesco and she got a phone call from her friend saying, oh, is your daughter home yet? We need someone to do some business development work in Manchester. And I was like, yeah, I'm free. And yeah, got the job. That's great.
Wow.
Really?
And that's where you've been. So Leonard Curtis, Insolvency Avoidance Services. So you're the BDM for the business. You go out, do lots of networking. Business Rescue and Recovery. Okay. 25 locations now, is that right?
Yeah, I think we're nearly at TBC 26. We've got one offshore office on Guernsey or Jersey. Nice. I get them mixed up, and we're TBC on the other island. So I think we've got Guernsey and we're going on Jersey.
You can't get them mixed up. Okay.
No, I know. I'm getting in trouble.
Yeah, that's like calling an Australian New Zealander.
Oh, yeah.
An American, a Canadian, etc. So
I'm a Scout, they're a Mancunian, apparently.
yeah. Just be very, very, very careful on that. Cool. Right. So, rewinding back, we talked about insolvency, and it's kind of a word that people don't understand, or they think it's something to obviously try and avoid, but don't want to talk about. Can you just kind of expand what insolvency is and means?
Yeah, so technically insolvency is when your company's got more liabilities than its assets, so it can't pay its debts when they fall due. So on a balance sheet, you can be insolvent basically when you haven't got enough money to pay everyone. Okay. That's the long and short of it, really.
Wow. Okay. But the tagline is Insolvency Avoidance Services. So you talk to customers, but you tell them how to avoid the bad days.
Yeah. So we try and speak to our customers as early as possible so that there's so many options for that business to carry on trading. Because ultimately no one wants to be insolvent, but if they come to us too soon, we have got the expertise to help them with that process. If they come to us early enough, then we do everything we can to avoid an insolvency.
So the earlier the better. And
Yes.
I've done some more digging, so I've got some more facts on Leonard Curtis.
Okay.
In 2022, you saved over 5,000 jobs and you avoided £28 million of debt.
Yeah, correct.
It just sounds fantastic.
Ideal, right? Yeah. So, I mean, it was post-pandemic times. There's a lot of factors that come into play with debt during the COVID years. But yeah, we managed to reschedule, I think it was £28.2 million worth of debt. So that is getting paid back to it was HMRC debt. It's getting paid back, but it's spread over a longer period of time, which means that business can carry on trading. So those staff members can remain in place. The business can regain its cash flow and carry on trading. So we saved all those businesses rather than saying, you're insolvent, you get bust.
I think there's another factor here is that you've saved all the businesses, you've saved all those jobs. You know what? You've saved a lot of families and a lot of houses. Everything else that goes around that, which at the time of need, it's heartwarming because that's 5,000 people that were worried about their jobs, and you help their jobs to be more secure for a bit longer. Hopefully, even longer than longer. There we go. So
it's the aim.
So how are we doing 2023? How are we doing Q1 this year?
This year, we have rescheduled 13 million so far.
Wow.
So, we're set to double last year's targets, which is, amazing. And then hopefully that means doubling the amount of jobs that we save as well.
Fantastic. And I'd like to point out that, as much as Leonard Curtis is insolvency avoiding services, that's not the only services that you provide. So can you go through a couple of the others? Because I noticed that there are other services that you've got available, meaning that businesses don't have to go to a bank when they want to raise some cash.
Correct. That is very true. Yeah. So there's to simplify it, there's sort of three pillars to Leonard Curtis. So the initial pillar that was the start of the business is the insolvency service, which also has the insolvency avoidance that we've spoken about. And then the other pillar is the funding pillar. So, which has also got different departments in it. So we've got the brokerage department, whereby we have relationships with the banks and the alternative lenders, the asset-based lenders, and so they can source new routes to finance for you. We've got debt advisory, so that they restructure any existing debt facilities you've got in place. We've also got a visibility department, so they more focus with the banks and the lenders over the facilities they've already got in place to do audits and surveys and kick the tires, make sure that's all running smoothly. And then we've got the law firm as well. So we've got a fully SRA regulated law firm, which is the third pillar. That was set up traditionally just to support our sort of insolvency advice. And then it's just grown massively. So it's fully corporate and commercial law firm. So they do anything that you need for your business, shareholder agreements, capital demergers, EOTs, anything like that. So again, offering another service to business owners where we can help.
Wow. I think Leonard Curtis are going to become the Amazon of the business people. Just so many different services. So if a business is struggling, how would they identify that, or who would be the first kind of people that would spot what was happening to say, actually, hands up, we need some help?
Yeah, so it's a good question. It really depends on the individual within the business and how close they are to their accountant. If you've got a proactive accountant, and we work really closely with a lot of proactive accountants, often notice signs of struggling early on rather than a reactive accountant who might just do year end and they'll see it when it's a bit too late. So anything you can look for within a business, you can see that they're struggling. So if they've got a decrease in their turnover, maybe they've experienced an unexpected bad debt, or if they're getting any pressure from some creditors. These are sort of the trigger points that trigger those conversations. And as I said earlier, the sooner that you can contact us, the more options we've got available for that director to remain in control. And yeah, we can give free advice and hopefully they can make the right informed decisions.
So another question on the back of that, because you talked about proactive and reactive accountancies. If I'm a business owner, I'm watching this video now, how could I tell the difference between a proactive and a reactive?
So a reactive accountant usually just does year-end accounts and you'll get these paid at the end of the year, and that's that. A proactive accountant will be speaking to you regularly. You will have monthly management accounts. They'll provide cash flow forecasting. They'll sit down with you and assess your goal in the business. So they'll say, where do you want to be, and then support you to get there as well.
So for us, we have a proactive accountant because he comes in once a quarter and goes through the figures once a quarter, and we can sort of see what's actually happening. So which accountants do you work best with?
Without naming names,
well, proactive, reactive, because I'm kind of guessing that proactive, they spot an issue early, but reactive because those companies might need more help.
Yeah, so we work with proactive accountants. We have a massive impact because we get in early enough, and everyone's struggling at the minute. So every accountant will have clients that are struggling, but those proactive accountants will come to us early enough, and we have such a high success rate in saving the business. Obviously, we do a lot of work with reactive accountants, and that tends to be the insolvency route that will go down. Insolvency, or administration processes, they tend to be, like I say, those more reactive accountants that say at year end, company's bust, can you do something about it?
Okay, and again, with all the offices that you've got now spanning across the water to some small islands, you're a national company, so it's not just, I know you're based in Manchester, but it's not just Manchester-based businesses that you're supporting, it's anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah, and Scotland.
And Scotland, okay. What about Wales and Ireland?
We haven't got an office in Ireland, we've got an office in Wales and Scotland.
Okay. So room for expansion. So proactive and reactive accountancy practices. What about banks? Do you work with banks?
Yes, we do quite a lot of work with banks and asset-based lenders, ABLs. So that's anyone that's lent money to a business for growth of the business, basically. Because they've got cash out the door, they can monitor that cash and make sure they're getting the repayments. And if they default on the repayments, that can be a warning sign that business is struggling.
Okay. So before they send in the debt collectors, send in Leonard Curtis.
Exactly, yeah.
That's what we like to hear. I know that we're absolutely on the minutes because you've literally come running in to take this video, and you're going to be running out going to a meeting with one of the directors. Very quickly, what is a good bit of advice that you could give a business that may be just on the tip starting to struggle?
Come and speak to us, because as I say, the earlier you speak to us, you remain in control of that business. You have all your options available. We offer free advice. You can even do it on a no-names basis if you aren't comfortable expressing the name of your business. And we can offer you free advice. You know what your options are, and then you know what the future holds.
Okay, so if you're worried, call Leonard Curtis. You can do it anonymously. And there you go. So you've given us some great bits of advice. You've given us the people that you work well with. Obviously, the fantastic facts of how many businesses you've saved, how much debt you've managed to schedule rather than businesses going under. How do people contact you? How's the best way to get hold of Sarah Gaskin?
Give me a call. I love a phone call. So my number, well, I'm sure it'll be in the chat after this.
I'll put all your contact details down in the notes below this. So we'll put in a link to the Leonard Curtis website. We'll put in a link to Sarah's LinkedIn profile. So if you do want to contact Sarah, send a connection request on LinkedIn. Sarah, so absolutely, Leonard Curtis, from what I'm gathering, absolutely smashing it, being the good guys. The insolvency avoidance service. I love that saying because I think insolvency on its own is just a dark word, but avoidance services just lines it up. That's absolutely brilliant. So again, Sarah, thank you very much for coming on. Thank you for talking about Leonard Curtis, going through the 3 pillars of the business. For those that are watching this episode and you want to see who else we're going to be interviewing, click the subscribe and the like buttons and you'll get the notifications. But again, Sarah, thank you very much for coming along. You've been watching another episode of CARA TV. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.